explaining part 2 for this assignment. So as it was been stated in the assignment requirements that we need to create another branch for original cucumber, and so I have two branches. The master included part 1 and this would include part 2. Right now I'm just gonna go and clone this branch, and I have already created an empty directory, as you can see, under the name of part 2, in which I'm gonna do a clone there. Okay, so I did the cloning, so it's gonna be right there. I'm gonna head back to Eclipse, and then I'm gonna go to import to just import the project. I'm gonna do existing Maven project, and then I'm gonna select part 2, which would be here. Okay, and then I'm gonna select finish. Will take some time to get imported, but yeah. And so just gonna navigate through this README file that it's just been updated for part 2. If you just find any issues with configuring Log4j, just follow these instructions. I have a link to all the videos here, and the files that are in regards to original cucumber or pcucumber will be found in these file paths within the project itself. Okay, so what was the deal about part 2? It was about creating some cucumber testings for these two examples. The first example was about registering course C1 when it has a cap size of 2 by 4 students, or 3 students in fact, because we already know that student 1 will be taking a spot in there anyways. So the competition will happen in a way between the 3 students, which are S2, S3, and S4. And because we do not guarantee the order of which thread is going to come first to gain that spot, we might have different orderings or different interleavings in the registration attempts. And so I just created this small presentation that talks about what are the 4 students I have included. Each one is named as S1, S2, S3, and S4. Student 1 has student number from 1 to 8 and then a 1. Student 2 has from 1 to 8 and a 2. Student 3 has 1 to 8 and a 3. Student 4 has 1 to 8 and a 4. And the course of interest for example number 1 is about registering these 4 students into, or actually student 1 and 2, one of these 3 students into course number 1 or C1 with this course code. Okay, so in regards to example 1, we do have this course, okay, with this course code. Its cap size is 2, so you can see 2 blanks per each row. And we always know that student 1 will maintain a spot no matter what, okay? Whether it's the first spot, as you can see in the first 3 rows, or it could be the second spot, as you can see in the last 3 rows, okay? Now, we've got these 3 threads that would attempt to run in a way that S1, S3, and S4, and we're not sure which one will come first. If it happened that S1 happens to come first, we see that the event becomes as follows: S1 and then S2, and the expected outcome or expected output that S3 and S4 should see is that they are unable to register in the course because the course is full. Okay, so these are the different combinations you can see for each student, and we gain to have 6 combinations, okay? Different combinations considering the order too. So if S1 is first, S2, we still have another one which is similar but in different orderings, in a way that S2 is registered and then S1 and whatnot, okay? And in this side you see that which student will get to have this output as like unable to register in the course. So here it's S3 and S4, could be S2 and S4 if S3 managed to get a spot. Okay, so I just wanted to explain that briefly. Right now I'm gonna go and head to my cucumber testing, using the original cucumber. Now I'm going to look into the files of interest. This is my test suite, this is my cucumber step definition, and under the resources, under features, you will see this is the original cucumber feature that I have. So right there, I do have a scenario for part example number 1, which is registering for course C1. You can see that I did step out the scenarios. You will have students, the clerk logging in first, putting in the password, and then creating the 4 students. And then following that will be that the clerk will happen to create the course with the course code and the following specifications, and then he's gonna log out. We're gonna wait for 20 days school, and then we're gonna enter the student, okay, which is S1. He will get to select the course and the course code, and then he will definitely attempt to register for a course too. So the way I did it over there in my step definitions, right? So I do have an instance of a server running here, and then I enter just to get the process input. So I did hard code these, and then I will sleep a bit, and then after that the student will enter something. So based on this test case, it's like whatever the student will be entering, whatever this student, specific student will be entering, will be first assigned, we'll first assign the student number, and then we're gonna assign or the server output to get that student input that we just entered, and then get the present state of that. Okay, so just the present state was been taken initially from here. Okay, and then after that, because by the time I get to process this input, the state will definitely change, right? And this will be saved under the server output, so I get to save that in a present state, so that it gets carried, so the state will be getting will get to be carried forward throughout the different sequences. Okay, so yeah, so here the student has successfully managed to enter the course. To register for a course, he gets to log out, and then student 2, student 3, and student 4 will subsequently just select the course, okay, without registering. Like, we haven't get to the phase of registration yet. Then after that, when the following students S2, S3, and S4 attempt to register for the following course, there should be only one successful registration, right? One attempt for that successful registration and not anything else. So over here, in the first, this part, we create the 3 threads, okay? I've also created a register course class that will be found here. Okay, so what does the register course do? It implements runnable, so it would act as a thread, and under its thread function, so when you create a new register course instance, you will assign the student name, student number, and the course code. Okay, and then we will get to use the process input from the input handler to enter that student with their student name and number, and get to execute the part of registering for the course. So you can see here, I get to, like, tell the student, okay, now you attempt to register for a course when you become in a state of being a student. And then after that, I want to process the input of, like, entering that course code, because that's based on how the flow of the system works. And then I do have 2 logger statements just to show you here that the student name with that corresponding student number, he's attempting to register for the course, and then what is the expected response that we would get per each student. So what we are expecting is that 2 students will get to have an output of unable to register for a course, and 1 student will have an output or a response being a success. Okay, so that's it. And yeah, so as I mentioned here, I get to create these 3 threads. They will start to compete, and then the join will happen to be waiting for each and every one of them. If I happen to get a success in any of these 3 ones, then the success will be equal to 1. Okay, so let's run this test suite for that. I'm just gonna add one more thing for my operation log. Let me just verify that my log for j, yeah, this is correct. Okay, so I'm just gonna have this view here just of the operation logs, and right here I'm gonna go to my test suite to run my test cases for Cucumber, original Cucumber part 1. Okay, so right here I'm just gonna click on run, and you can see here that all my scenarios have passed. Okay, I have 2 scenarios, but I'm referring just to the first one because the second one is related to part 2. So let me check the operation logs here. You can see it shows that these are my original Cucumber testing, and right here you will notice that I did create log statements when it comes to the response that each student will get by the time they attempt to register for that course. So you can see that by S4, S2, and S3 over here, I see that S4 was been successfully able to register, so the response they got was the success. For S2 and S3, unfortunately, as we expected, 2 others would not be able to register in the course, and in this case it was S2 and S3. Okay, so this is the first attempt of running my test suite. Let me run it for the second time. We have to do it 5 times, so I'm just gonna do it again and then scroll through here to show you the second time or the second attempt of showing these logs. This time it was a success done, registered, so not here actually, that was for deregistration. So let me come here. Yeah, so this time it is again a success by S4 to be able to register in the course, but by S3 and S2 it was not. Okay, and just to make this a bit clearer, not to get mixed up with part example 2, I'm just gonna delete my operation logs, and for running the third attempt we will be seeing the logs again from start. Okay, so here's my Cucumber testing logs, and as you can see here, again we did at yeah, it's always been 4 for some reason. So it is a successful attempt by S4 to be able to register, but S3 and S2 did not. Now let's hope for the 4th and the 5th attempt we get S3 one time and S2 one time. Okay. Okay, so right here, fingers crossed, it's again S4. But if we attempt to run this again, there you go. So this time, S3 was able to get a success, but S4 and S2 did not, okay? Now let's do it for another time until we get S2 to be a success. So far we've seen S4 and S3. So now let me try and do it for, and hope that S2 will be coming as a registration, as a success for its registration, okay? Not again, okay, so S2 did not, so I'm hoping this time S2 is able to do it. Yes! So S2 was a success here. S3 and S4 was not been able to register in this time. So there it is. I have shown that it's not always one student who gets to register successfully to maintain the last spot. It happened that in the first couple times it was 4, and then happened to be one time S3, and this time it was S2. Okay, so thanks for watching.